All right, everybody, what is up? Thanks for joining me today. Man, so if you haven't been on the channel before, it's got a different name. I'm Evan Ziegel, as you know, if you've been here, composer, producer, and creator of the Compose and Conquer program. And you may know me formerly as the metal tuba guy, and that's awesome. I still do a lot of that stuff. That's going to be incorporated into this channel as well. Um, but the main kind of purpose, I think, is going to shift towards composition now, which is exciting. So, um, today we're going to dive into writing some core material. I did a poll on Instagram not too long ago, and a lot of people said they wanted to see me work on a metal track. So I think that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to be sharing my Logic Pro session. That's primarily where I work while I sketch out riffs and lay down the rhythmic ideas, map out all the song sections, and you'll get to watch me do that stuff in real time, which hopefully will be really cool for some folks who've been really curious about my process. I'm streaming now because composition is all about momentum and systems in the way that I think of it. And in CNC, I teach my students exactly how to go from blank page where we're going to start to having a finished song. So we're going to do it in one session. Drop your questions in the chat and hit like if you're ready, and we can kick off this first riff. All right, so let's get Logic fired up here. Okay. So normally what I do when I get going at blank page mode, that like we're at right now, is I tend to write the drums first. I think that that's like the most approachable way to get into writing a metal song. Really, a lot of songs, anything that uses drums. So often what I'll do is I'll either set up like a 4 or 8 bar loop, and then I will start outlining some drums. So create your MIDI region. And at this point, I've pretty much memorized where the mappings are for all of the drums that I'm using here in going through Kontakt. So let's see, before we keep going there, 1, 2. Cool. All right. So yeah, you can map out your drums any particular which way you want. This is the GGD Invasion Kit. Sounds a little bit like this. So pretty punchy. Pretty. I picked the low tune kit for a reason, low tune brute, because I think I want to go something new metal today. I want to really focus on groove, so having that low supportive sound in the drums is going to be really important for what I'm going for. And like I was starting to say, there are ways to program your piano roll so that it lists the instruments, but at this point I've kind of gotten pretty used to where the core instruments are. So let's find our hi-hat right over here. So let's set up a timekeeper first, right? Just a basic subdivision of every bar. So that we have a reference point for the groove that we're gonna write against this, So, just not super exciting yet. But pretty much always you're going to start with, a kick drum hit on the downbeat. So I'm going to just plug that in, and I'm going to plug our snares on 2 and 4, pretty standard backbeat. But for the kick rhythm, I'm going to do something that's really fun. So I'm going to look up this cool little code. If you don't know crap, now it's trying to open that. If you don't know about the Chaldeans the Chaldean people, they were the like pre-Babylonian society, basically, and they were really into numerology. It defined a lot of cultural and spiritual meaning for them. So I like to use this because I can come up with like a word or an idea or something cool and use the letters and whatever that word or phrase or something might be to generate the material, or at least like something that I can work from, a seed of material, that is. So I think today, since this is our first Compose and Conquer stream of all time, I'm gonna just do the word conquer, and I broke this down in a little guide I recently put out, but we're gonna do it from scratch here because I didn't actually write anything when I did the translating and idea suggesting. So we are going to actually compose based on that now. Why am I not seeing Q? Am I losing it completely? Yeah. No, dude, there's definitely, like, I don't see Q. I don't understand. Wow. Is this chart just bogus? It must be. All right, let's look up a new chart. Chaldean chart. And there's Q. It's supposed to be a number 1. It's complete. Oh, I see. That's the one I have, and it's just an O twice. Okay, so 1, 6, 5, 2. Yeah. Yep. 6, 5, 2. Okay. So we can do a lot with this simple little number sequence. One thing that I really enjoy is I'll, plug my downbeat here, like I said, and then I will, with each number, that's how many notes in between I will count. So I'll show you what I mean. So I've got the downbeat, and I'm going to take this as, so that's a pretty slow quarter note. Instead of a quarter, let's do at least eighth notes so we have a little more motion. So I'm going to count an eighth note. Here's 1, 2, 3, boom. And then I place 1. And then I'm going to count 7 because that's the next integer down there in the bottom left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, place 1. It's kind of a tedious thing at first, but it'll result in some really cool things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. Then we've got just a 1, which is always fun. 6, 5, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that's going to be 4, so we're going to have to now expand this, and maybe we're going to end up actually creating a little 8-bar drum phrase here, which is fine. Where were we? 5, so that's 4, 5, boom, and then we'll place 2, and then 1, and then we would start the pattern all over again, basically, until it all lines up together on a beat. So, and sometimes it doesn't, and then we can always just pull a Meshuggah and cut it short and, um, do whatever we want, because the point is to make art, not to copy anybody else. Okay, I'm actually going to delete that because then this whole pattern just starts fresh right there. Oh, yeah, it's like we're so close. But you know what? Let's do a 9-bar phrase, man. Who said we couldn't? Whatever. It'd be a 9-bar riff. It's not that drastic compared to 8. All right. Now, let's just kind of hear what that basic beat sounds like. Yeah, I think it's a little slow, huh? Yeah, with a closed hi-hat, it's ridiculous. Let's try that. And you know what? We need to be on an actual 2 and 4 as well, which would be... You know what? Let's actually even do it a little bit quicker. We want to get this groove moving. Yeah. Yeah, might have to get a little creative here, but I'm still gonna use this as the basic framework because I find it maybe not easier, but more satisfying anyway to work with something that's already there. So plug all our snare hits in. And by the way, I'm just working on like full velocity notes right now so that I can just hear everything clearly, and then later I'll work the MIDI nuances in. You know what? This will be really cool with a very chuggy type riff because it's so slow. So I think I'm gonna leave this as is for now as like a kind of framework, and then we're gonna add a couple cymbal accents in and just tweak the MIDI programming so it's not quite so robotic. So let's get some cymbal hits. Alright. Can't hit a hi-hat and 2 cymbals at the same time as far as at least I'm capable of, so let's do... just plug these in. Again, later on in the process when I'm refining a piece and doing any like editing or revising, I will often take time to I call it spice racking. Misha Mansour from Periphery calls it that, and basically just it's like you're getting your spice rack out and you're spicing it up. So but occasionally I do that during the process, which is actually what I'm gonna do right now. So because we have this 9th bar, which is a little bit awkward, and we have this kick here, I'm gonna first of all break my rule and move this kick instead. And I'm gonna put it in the toms here because I want there to be a nice impact with each cymbal hit, and then that will still carry the composite rhythm of everything that came before conceptually, but it's not going to sound like it was like, oh wait, you broke the pattern. It's like, do you know the pattern at this point? Because I don't. I'm still writing it. All right, anyway, let's hear what that sounds like now with this fill and all the other stuff worked in. Yeah, see, and so that just it's a nice little fill to end it. It lets us hear the cymbals individually more clearly. Because I love, like, two-handed hits like this. It always just like has a great impact to it. But cool. I think for right now this is going to be our framework for the drums. Now, what I also want to do though, because I like the sound of this like low tom and these two low toms, because I mean, again, like it's such a good sorry, hold on. Hey, restart it. Come on. Yeah, now I've got a whole beat here. Sorry for anyone who may have missed that. Cool. Okay. We'll make sure that that keeps running. All right. So again, dealing with a kit that is this big is really nice because we can use these lower toms down here almost like as not another kick drum, but it's a complement to it, and especially in the mixing process you can really take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and stick with this core thing we've got going here. And I apologize that my logic window keeps OBS is giving me some trouble. Let's see here. All right. Now let's work our low toms in. So I think it would be cool to have this as like, I'm not going to program out the rhythm as I did with the whatchamacallit, kick drum. I'm going to work this in as like a couple different accent patterns. And we're basically going to put these. We'll see what this sounds like first. Yeah, no, that's stupid. It needs to be faster. Maybe. Yeah, okay, we don't need that. I'm gonna kind of like use it as a complement to the kick drum whenever we have these like almost offbeat things or yeah, because that gives this a nice framework that then we can build off of a little bit more too. So let's kind of lay a couple of these out. And at this point, I wouldn't say I'm going necessarily on instinct. I am looking for, if you see what I'm looking for is in the kick drum. I'm trying to find the best spots to plug this stuff in. So, okay. So then do, sorry, switch those. Break the pattern a little bit right here. And actually, that's kind of an accident, but yeah, let's get that higher tom in there too. That'll add a nice color. So now let's check this out. We've got this nice composite drum beat. That's cool. I mean, that adds a little bit more interest to what otherwise was kind of a boring drum beat, not gonna lie. Um, but that's the thing. So we started from something extremely basic, which was just the timekeeping element of it, and we added at first what I thought was basic until I heard just how slow it would be to go, bar for bar with the snare hits, right? So, it's a process of whittling things down and using other techniques to kind of give you some ideas. So, cool. Let's actually make one more adjustment because I really like my cymbal hits to be with kick drums. And even though I wanted this to be on the downbeat after 4 bars, I think actually this is going to sound cool if I just go shift them over. But I don't want them both there because it would be pretty awkward to play a cymbal and then, go to the hi-hat so quickly. So instead, yeah. And in fact, let's keep the timekeeper going though. I think that's going to be important. Yeah, right. So, and there's like a little bit of, we're throwing some spices in to the cooking process, So, cool. All right. We've got, oh, no, wrong button. So we've got a nice drum part here. Cool. So now at this point in the process, what I normally do is start to write a bass part in the MIDI because, eventually I'm obviously going to record this, but in the writing process, if I get too wrapped up in playing too many different instruments, I just tend to get lost kind of quickly. So I think it's smart to, for me as a writer, to have as much writability. It doesn't even make sense, but I'm writing it down and then I've got my guitar over here, so I'm going to be recording those riffs, but I digress. So let's go in here and let's see. Let's see here. Yeah. Cool. Pardon me while I just do a little tweaking right here. There we go. All right. Now. Okay. Welcome back, Logic. All right, now we should actually be seeing things. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. Okay, so we're gonna write a bass part. I've got my guitar in drop C sharp, so I think we're just gonna stick with that. Now I'm running the Nolly, Nolly Bass Library plugin from GGD. If you don't know this one, it's very cool. Looks like this. It's basically like his Dingwall, so pretty cool stuff. Sounds really good. So we're gonna go like this. And the quickest way for me into this is often to go like this. Take the kick drum part, throw it into the bass. Obviously, I'm not gonna. Here's our C sharp. And I'm not gonna have it play this, but this gets us to the rhythm, and usually it's good practice to have your kick drum aligned, or your bass aligned with your kick drum in a metal track. So what I'm going to do for right now is I'm just going to turn all of these into sustains, because I want to hear what it sounds like filling in that structure now that we already have. And then I'm going to start shifting some pitches around and making this a little bit more interesting as a bass part. Or what I might do, something I haven't done in a while, but would be to just actually have the bass only basically play this simple of a part, and then have the guitar part be a little bit more complex over that, basically. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little boring for me. So let's take the length off, even if this is just gonna be a part. I'm gonna clear an eighth note space in between every one, and I'm gonna put some eighth notes in here. And I think I'm just gonna let's do octaves first, because then we can see if this contour works, this kind of jumping back and forth between. And if it doesn't, we can try a different kind of contour pattern before we start committing to notes in the riff. So, what I'm trying to do here is we're composing by trying different systems and methods, and like approaching each part as a piece of a puzzle is kind of how I see it. Hey, what's up, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. All right. So now just throwing octaves in there, but it gives us this a cool idea of what the contour can look like. So let's hear what this sounds like with those octaves real quick. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool with the octaves. But in order to get a really good nu metal riff out of it, and honestly, it's really helpful to write this way when you're doing like this style, because so much of the style is determined by the bass and the guitars playing together anyway. So I'm going to poke around here and do some classic Phrygian stuff. And so what I'm kind of trying to do is keep the range fairly limited while giving this kind of It's like this hill sort of contour to the line I'm plugging in here, or even waves or something like that. I find it helpful to have a little image like that in my head sometimes. So make sure that's full eighth note, and then see what that sounds like now. I think we might stick with that. And I know I keep saying nu metal, but part of me is honestly starting to think that this might lean more towards a like hardcore jam, which I'm totally cool with. So, still, again, working on this core idea. Now we've got a really cool bass and guitar part. So I'm going to shrink this for now because I'm going to track that another time. And let's grab. So I mean, you may notice that like I haven't really done a whole lot of. I don't really. Thanks, Mike. I haven't really done a whole lot of writing down on sheet music really at all yet, and we've got a really nice core idea going on at this point. So what I usually do now, if I'm writing with a guitar in hand, is I'll let this loop and play while I have some guitar sound coming through. Oops. Now that's just like playing, note for note, sort of, except for me screwing up. More or less playing note for note with what the bass is already doing. And, to be honest, in this, I don't know how well that really works. So this actually might be kind of cool with like a chugging riff that doesn't actually line up. So, it might have to at least hit the same accents with the bass, though. Yeah, actually, that might work. Whatever. See. So it would be like. Okay, yep, that's what we're doing. But now I'm just going to have the bass part reflect that because it's a little bit silly for it to just be ringing and not doing anything else. So let me real quick divide this up back to some chugs so that just have this. This is some tough guy music right here, man. Okay. Yeah, OBS is really being tricky, isn't it? All right. This might take me a minute to go through the rest of it. Just 1 sec. I'm going to take a quick peek at something. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions at the moment about, just kind of my thought process and how I'm thinking of this, feel free to drop them in there. It's probably pretty straightforward at this point, because it's mostly just a jam. But, if you're curious about anything, let's see. I'm trying to keep Logic from continuing to stop, or I should say OBS from stopping its capture. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. It's funny. Okay, that's something to look up later. So keep plugging this shit in. Okay. Yeah, tedious, but this will be a really nice scaffold for everything, and then once I start actually tracking the parts on the bass, it'll be super cool. So let's do boom, boom. And I'll try and record the guitar part, but I'm going to treat this like a demo, and if I got to punch a couple things in, that's fine. It's, I'm not creating the studio version right now. So now with... Nice. That's cool. Crap. Man, that is just like, that just is a beat down. I love it. Cool. Okay, let's see. Let's see here. I'm gonna try and record that guitar over this. We'll do a couple takes while it overdubs. But I need to count in. Count in. Let's give myself 2 bars. And we're in. Yeah. Yeah, so, okay. Good. Always good to make sure you're not clipping on the way in. All right, let's try that again. Alright, I think I missed like one of them, so I'm not going to overdub it. I'm just going to go find where that was and punch it in. There it was. Alright, so now we're just doing a quick punch in here. Okay, well, I only needed that one note anyway, so, you know, for the sake of writing, it's like, it doesn't really matter. You punch something in. I wouldn't track it this way for sure, though, but I also would have practiced it before, you know, and I'm certainly not practicing something I just wrote. So, okay, let's hear that now without the metronome. Yeah, I mean, hey, can't hate that. It's a pretty banging riff. Cool. So yeah, again, like I said, I would, if I weren't just trying to get the ideas down and write, then I would definitely be editing a lot more. Oh yes, Nathan, this is definitely in 4/4 time. But it's a 9-bar phrase, so it's see, you know, here's the thing: time signatures don't matter. You know, they're fake. Time signatures are fake news, is what I say. And it's true. So let's see. Okay. What I think will make a lot of sense right here is if we pretty much loop this one, because this feels to me like it could be an intro type riff. But what I'm gonna do then is actually shift these over, and instead of doing that right away, I'm just gonna have like a bass and drum kind of groove thing happening here, the first part of this riff. But instead of the moving notes, we're gonna do some ones and zeros, baby, because I can also use that later as an idea for the, you know, breakdown if I decide to do something like that, which is cool. Okay, cool. So we're going to oh no, why did I do that? Do that. Now we're gonna have a drum beat from those 1, 2, 3, 4, those first 4 bars. But again, we're, you know, this is an intro. I love a good tom intro in a hardcore song, nu metal song, anything that has like a groove emphasis. So I think as the main one, because that would be the right hand low tom, that would make more sense for that to be the like timekeeping one. And then we'll have the left hand can still play this low one, which is cool. So actually, if anything, that might be pretty cool to just do that. And then have like a, let's see. Okay, I have an idea. God. Almost sound Almost sounds like a Knock Loose song. I guess everything sounds like a Knock Loose song now. They've like taken over. Yeah, cool. We'll do like some, not really ghost notes per se, obviously, but you can kind of think of them that way if you want. Cool, let me plug these in here. And then when we get those left-hand hits, those will really jump out and be cool little accents. Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely need to like actually track that. Ay. All right. Cool. So now I think I'll just have the guitars kind of ring out in the beginning. That would be pretty classic. Like, so, let's get our Met on. Yeah, no. Clearly that's out of tune. God, it should be fine. All right. Let's try that again. You gotta do a pick slide. Always do a pick slide. If Adam tunes in at some point, my old Lake Mosaic brother, he will adamantly agree with me. Adamant. Adam is adamant. Wow. How did I never think of that? Okay. Not a bad demo thus far. Okay, I think something that would be really cool here is changing this from the open hi-hat to I'm gonna do a China. And actually I have an idea. So what I did before where it's just the ones and zeros, we're actually going to do that here so that we can get that down as well. Yeah, dude. Always go with the China. Always go with the China, Mike. Yeah, now this is going to get that stank face going for sure. All right. I should be able to pretty much just lay that down real quick, but I'm going to do a quick retune. Again, you know, Adam would be so proud of me with all of my tuning awareness. Yeah, I get a little bit. Yeah, these guitars sat for a while, so, you know, they get a little floppy over time. Even though they're still fresh strings. Yeah, so anyone that wasn't here at the beginning, this is currently in drop C sharp. So it's more or less, if you don't know, if you took a drop D guitar and cranked it down another half step, then you have drop C sharp. So it's I don't know, it fits this guitar really well. I think it sounds good in this tuning particularly, and I used to play it in Lake Mosaic primarily, so it's just, I don't know, it feels right. And it can lead you to some cool sounds that you don't get out of like drop C or drop D, because it's like it can be bright and it can be chuggy and heavy, as we're seeing right now. So cool. All right, that sounds much better. All right, let's do our grind riff, brah. Oh, okay, wait. I think chugs on the first half, and oh shit, chugs on the first half, and we'll do. Let's see, yeah, chugs on the first half, and then open notes on the second half. So I think like. And then I think here we'll shift to a very new metal thing to do. Yeah, it might not. Maybe the chugs need to still be in there, but we'll do the jump, the octave jumps up like that. Keep doing that. Okay, let's try this again. Shit. This is always what happens. There's a point where I get excited and my ideas go faster than the brain. Okay, I'm not sure if I did that quite right. I started bending the string because I thought it might sound cool, but it doesn't sound cool. Okay, so let's do this one more time and then punch Cool. I have a feeling this idea is gonna show up quite a bit in this. Sweet. So now we've got right there. Go right here. Oh, wait a minute. So, and then let's see how long of a song we've got. I mean, so I've been at this for a little under an hour, with some narrating and fixing some stuff as we go with the streaming. I don't know why it keeps being so goofy, but we're at about a minute already. And like, as far as a hardcore song goes, that might almost be done. No, we're gonna make this longer, but that's a good chunk. I mean, that could be like a third of it, so let's hear what we have with this progression into the like more open sounding guitar. And what I'll probably do too here is I'll turn this now into like its own little fill because we've heard it once. So, okay. I think it would be cool if it was just like kind of like a little tom accent on our big chonky low toms. Yeah. Yep. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Let me redo something there. Okay. To go. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna make this fill match right here. So. Nope, not what we need. We need. There's a quick way to do a subdivision. Split them in half, move one over, and copy them. Cool, okay. And now, I think what could be cool actually is if it goes into like a double time thing here. So like it would be like more of a thrashy type, like fast hardcore, you know, two-step kind of thing. So let's double the tempo here. I'm gonna go up into my global markers, and we're at 94, so 196 would be double that. Sometimes I do this. Is that right? Am I bad at math? Wait. Oh, yeah, I am. It'd be 188, right? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so now we'll go. And then I think probably the guitar riff is going to be the whatever leads this. It would be cool if we can incorporate this same pattern of accent notes. So this might take a little bit of writing down. I'm not sure. Maybe we can do it. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it would be like. I don't know. I mean, like the contour sounds cooler when it's not a really predictable rhythm. So. I don't know. We gotta come up with something cool here. So I think let's get out our Chaldean thing again here. So if we remember, oh no, not that. Remember our numerology chart right here, or our translation, I should say. It's right there, and then so this time, one thing that can be really cool you can do is I'll actually use these numbers as like a sequence of frets to help me come up with a riff. It doesn't always work, but it's one way, again, to like kind of break that funk where I'm like, not totally sure where to go next. So, 3, 7, 5. There is potential here for sure. Using those frets either as like the main power chords or even root notes, like if I, instead of doing just power chords, right? Whatever it might be. I think I'm going to go with this now instead of what we did before, which was using that sequence to help us come up with the rhythms in the drum part. So. Yeah, it's hard to know how it's going to sound without drums, but that's okay because we want this to go. And in this case, I'm going with the flow of the composition. Other times, I might jump to a different section and work on a completely different idea, but I think this is a good idea to go off of right now. So if we just create ourselves a little loop section for a couple bars, turn the metronome on. I don't know. I'm just kind of making up rhythms. If we want to do something without so many chugs, which is not a bad idea, actually. Yeah, I think we need to do an open note riff here. And actually then the last idea too is do something higher, I don't know. I think it's cool to just like introduce more of a jamming riff here. And then I think what I'm going to do more for the high guitars later on is kind of lean more towards textural stuff and cool effects and things like that. So, cool. So, now let's try and see if we can come up with a riff here at that tempo. Could have a little bit of palm muting in there. Might not be bad. cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what we're gonna go with for right now. Or, you know what? I think I might just go with that first idea that I had. So let's get it rolling here. Metronome's on. Oh, that's cool. And I can chop that up a little bit and kind of edit things too if it's feels a little funky. But now what we can do here, and look, I mean, that was a really cool way to generate a new riff for this fast section. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We even did a standard phrase length. I can't hate that. All right. Sure. Let's. And then we'll have some pretty banging drums there. But I think there should still be a timekeeper, at least a couple bars, or 3 or 4 bars into this. Actually, honestly, maybe the whole time. It's not going to be bothersome to just have like a hi-hat. At least while we're writing, and then if it sounds weird later, I can get it out of there. Yeah, and then everyone can really clearly how bad my time is. No. Oh, God, I didn't mean to click that. Oops. Oh, that's cute. Cool. All right, and then obviously copy that because we're gonna want to hear that again. Why? Hear that, but we're also gonna need a bass part to mirror. So the trouble with doing it this way is like now I'm having to retranscribe my own riffs. Yeah. But it's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, that's not as difficult as you would think. And for now, the drums, I'm just going to have those do a more classic drum beat to kind of just frame the whole riff. I think that will probably work a little better here. Yeah, let's put... Nah, just the one cymbal I think is... Just wide open, loud hi-hat with the snare. Oh yeah, that's right. Here's the trigger by itself. I forgot how to set it up like that. I don't know why I did that. That's funny. Oh, I have an idea. We're gonna do like a little subtle countdown. Check this out. So first one has 4 hits right there in the beginning. Next one has 3. Then we'll do 2. Oh yeah, actually this is the one that has to be 2. That's gonna be a 1-hit wonder. Okay. Yeah, this is sort of where I start to get into a flow state. And when I get about like hour or so into a session and have some core ideas like really rocking, um, is when I start to kind of lose sense of time, honestly, when I'm doing this. Which is a good thing. When you're in a creative mindset, it's a really great thing to lose track of time. Cool. So check it out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're gonna like get into the ass kicking part. Oh wait, no, we can't. I'm gonna throw a sick drum fill in here. So let's write something real quick. So we're ending on a snare and hi-hat hit. So the nearest drums would be toms, probably on the right side, but we also have that low left one, right? So I always think about this when I'm writing drums in MIDI, and I don't know that a lot of producers do, but they should, because especially if you're writing something with like acoustic drum samples, you're gonna need realistic playability, because if you're writing this part and it's just jumping all around the kit and you give it to someone and you're like, what the hell are you doing? So writing like this also, it gives you more natural sounding drum parts before you even start nuancing the MIDI, which is why I tend to do it in this order whenever I can. So let's get to the correct track here. Yeah. So anyway, that all that is to say, a snare, which is like sort of in the middle, but it's kind of close to our high tom. So if we hear, I try to hear where it is in the stereo image, and then seems like it would be convenient to come from here. And nobody likes just a dooka 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 dooka. We're just not Hawaii 5-0, so throw some kicks in there. Right, like maybe that'll work. Right, like and then now we'll really get jamming with this riff. With an actual drum beat, basically. But I want to hear this transition though from like kind of the slower into the faster bit. Make sure that this is flowing well. That's important. Now let's jump ahead to you know what? I don't think the hi-hat should come in that first bit because it just doesn't transition well. But this, yeah, that works way better. Cool. I think this last now, so there's a couple ways we could go about this, right? Like from a song writing standpoint and energy standpoint. We don't want to repeat the riff too much because it's going to get boring, but we can't diverge so much that it would throw off the listener. That's usually how I try to think about it. So we're going to need to do, let's see. Oh. There. Okay, so when we copy paste, I'm going to do the bass part in here as I want the bass to be a little bit more active now. Well, I go back and forth. Let's actually leave it there for now. I think I'm going to do a more bass heavy feature in a minute, but and so this really is going to be effectively the same part, but we're going to put some offbeats in here. Okay. Yeah, so let's just make sure that that sounds cool first before we go too far. Yeah, it's cool. I'm probably gonna throw a couple double kicks in there in a minute. Give some interest to the part. And then, so here's the thing though too. By this point, it's the third time we've heard the riff. And it's going to be a slightly different variation in this third time, which is generally good musical practice. Always vary it up if you do something 3 times or more. Because we tend to get bored after that point, right? So after this, though, I will do a technique that breaks this riff down so that we don't have to generate a ton of new material. We have to control the energy, basically. And also, you'll see what I mean shortly here. So this is cool. Then we're going to go to a couple. I like throwing a little double kick in there with stuff like this. But, you know, so there's twice doing the same thing, right? Again, and you'll see this, you'll see me do this all over my music. I don't do the same thing 3 times, like almost ever, right? So, yeah. So here, that sounds like. And then, yeah, we'll do a different fill here. I think I'll just do the same rhythm, but we'll move it to the snare drums. Keep the same kind of momentum and flow of each phrase, but change the sound. Yeah. It's one of those few times where I'm just going to program that real quick. Because it just sounds so weird and it's going to throw me off when I'm performing a riff along with it, you know. So that's something to think about too. Like if you play an instrument that you would be tracking, you know, in the studio like this, you know, do what you need to do when you're programming other parts to give your performance to be solid. That just sounds more real. And I'm going to do that in all these other parts, but sometimes you just need to do it in a you just need to do it while you're in the midst of, you know, writing something. Cool. Okay. Sure. Let's see here. So now we've got this, and we're going to get the guitar back out. I'll play the correct riff, I promise. All right, let's punch that shit in. Punch it in, punch it in. Hope I don't get sued for that. No. Different lyrics, and I can write any melody I want. Yeah, play the 3rd fret first, Evan. Cool. Actually, I think it's the same each time. So I'm just going to cheat for the sake of brevity right here and paste it. And then when I go to track it in a different session, I will perform the whole thing. But this is going to be a little better. Cool. All right, so let's now take a listen to how the energy changes on those 3 repeats of that riff. Because, and actually, so far, if you, well, we only did this one twice, really, and in different variations each time, but you'll see now, or here, where the energy shifts happen and keep propelling us forward, even though we're hearing the same thing. So let's give it the context here. Cool. And now, so this gives us the perfect opportunity. We've heard that 3 times to now turn this into, again, not quite a breakdown, but a broken down version. One of my truly favorite things to do. So again, we take our part here, but we're gonna just quickly get rid of a chunk of stuff. Oh, wow, that's weird. Was I doing... Oh, yeah, that's right. There are 2 snares in this. Okay. Make sure that's all on the right snare real quick here. Okay. Now we do this. Those are all hi-hat hits. Those are all snare hits. I'm going to leave the fill alone for the time being. Nope. We'll do this one. And we're doing a classic halftime beat here. Snare hit on every 3rd beat. And I'm going to change that hi-hat. Don't worry. Don't you worry your little heads. Okay, cool. Hey, Colby. We're gonna do... No. I still want to go for that halftime vibe. Use this China symbol. And then... So just by taking out these extra notes... Oop, well, actually, that might be something I do later. By taking out these extra notes here, we're expanding the feel of the entire beat. So, you know, the drummers and percussionists here know that. But just by taking out the extra note, you know, so all I did was take out those extra notes, and suddenly the entire feel slows down, even though the beat and the subdivision and all the other rhythmic features of it are exactly the same. So, alrighty. Now, we've got a cool halftime beat here, but I'm not going to use the entire pattern that we had there. So here's what I mean about a broken down riff that is not a breakdown. Oops, we don't want loops. I'll explain what I'm doing in a sec. So what I tried to do was make sure that the rhythmic elements that I wanted to keep were all happening right on the, you know, kind of the beginnings of bars, but only every 2 bars or so. So there's a cluster here, 2 bars later there's a cluster here, right? And some of these are just, you know, this is going to remain like a little kick drum pickup, but we're going to basically create a chug riff here. So let me throw that in the bass so that it's clearer how that is probably going to sound. Oops. Okay. Bring this up to the C sharp. All right. Well, you already got a taste of it there. It's going to be pretty baller, I'm sure. Yeah, so hear what it sounds like just with the shorter notes first. I like it. I like it with the short notes. And we can expand on this. But let's just, let me punch this in on the guitar real quick. Okay. That's awesome. Oh, shoot. Let's try that again. A little bigger so I can see it. All right. All right, one more time. Now I remember how it goes. You know, so those little click things were happening accidentally, but I might incorporate them into the riff. So here's where here's where it really is useful to pay attention to happy accidents. um, so, let me get the basic. Okay. So now what I want to do, because I was accidentally, like, when I was muting, I was still kind of um, scratching the strings inadvertently those couple takes, which is why I was, redoing them. But we want maybe a riff that actually incorporates them. Something like that. So we're gonna copy paste this whole thing. I'm gonna change the drums up a tad. Just for the variation. We'll work in this other China. So we can work in like kind of I don't know, like there could be something cool happening there. I'm trying to figure out what it might be. I don't know, that's kind of cool. Like, I don't have to do it that way. It's kind of, I don't know. I'm neither here nor there about it. Let's see. Crap. Okay, you know what? I think I'm just going to clip out those clicks because playing the composite riff right now is not smart. That's for the recording session, not the writing session. Okay. Because I think the idea does sound really cool. And if you don't, then whatever. But yeah, so we'll just do it like that for the time being. Okay, the only thing is I'm probably just gonna have to flex edit it because it's gonna bother me if it's not in time. And some people have strong opinions about flex editing. They don't like it. It works great for me. So I don't know. I don't know what the opposition is really, but I digress. Sure. Let's see here. Go. This, and I'm gonna bounce it in place first. Which bit, or some people just say printing it in place, whatever. Oh crap, I don't want it to be a I don't want it to be a stereo trick. Oh, that's why. Yeah, let's reload that. Cool. Okay. So now we'll take this and we will print it in the place it's in so that these the comping that's in there is not a pain, but we also need to do it bypassing the effects, because otherwise it's going to print the amp tone into that, and that no one likes that. So okay, flex editing, turn this on. If you're a Logic user and you don't like flex editing, I'm sorry. But yeah, so anyway, what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna mess with the chugs because those were fine and they feel pretty organic with what's here. It's more of just this stuff. We'll want to align this more on the grid because it's going to sound really obvious if it's off. And even in a demo, it's important to make sure that that is clean. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, this is just going to groove a hell of a lot better, I think. And again, you know, when I sit down to track something like this, I'm not going to be allowing dirty playing quite so much. You know, you when you're really recording something, you have to aim to get it as perfect as possible in that session, because you'll never recapture the same performance, and you know, if you lose something, you lose something. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. It's a little bit of some spice on there. So now we'll do the same thing. I'm gonna bounce this in place again, because then it will print those flex edits in and we can just turn it off. So that should feel just the same. Cool. Okay, so we've got, what, 1:47 now? We got this really cool riff out of that whole process. What I normally do at this point is take stock of what we've got now. So I'm gonna listen from the beginning. Okay, might mess with the mixer a little bit too, and just kind of balance some levels and whatnot. We want to get an idea now of what we're working with energy wise in terms of some of these larger segments that we've come up with, and then we want to get also an idea of where we might want to go next with it, you know. So okay. I mean, honestly, on its own, that's not half bad for just like a short song, which is pretty cool. And that's not, we didn't really write all that much material. We just developed what we had. You know, we're working with all of these elements and recognizing both. Rick Rubin talks about this a bit. He he talks about recognizing both the when an idea is good, when it has potential, and when it's ready to throw out. um, and it's super important to be able to distinguish between an idea that just hasn't been fleshed out enough to be what we're looking for, and an idea that's just not gonna maybe work for the particular um, song or track or piece or whatever it is we're working on. So, yeah. And I think that this process right now that we've gotten to up until this point is, we've got like half of a track more or less, and we've got some broad structural elements that are going to be really useful and easy to reconfigure and develop and work with. All right. So that's what we're doing next. So I think what would be cool is this, after all this fast stuff, we're gonna after all this quick stuff, I think we'll pull the tempo back down to 94. So back to our original tempo. And I want to reuse this, maybe not this intro riff as it starts here, but I want to reuse this thing. And also probably this. So then the flow would be it's a perfect flow right into that. Okay, I think we should just do the same sequence that happened here. Makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, and that's just that chunky. I mean, and that, that's another minute just reusing that. I don't think I want to do this verbatim like that, though. I think we're going to cut out this second 4 bars of this half of the riff, just because, like, we've heard this material before, and now that it got so much faster it just, for me, and this may be confirmed, in studies somewhere, but for me, once something faster and exciting like that happens, anything that is slower afterward feels like exponentially slower. I'm not sure if that's just me, I'm the weirdo. I mean, I know I'm the weirdo, but and we're going to do the same thing here. So we're just going to proportionally cut this whole thing in half, and yeah, it's not going to be the exact same riff, but this will be a callback to earlier in the song, because it doesn't have to be exactly the same, especially because we're doing this for instrumental purposes. So number one, we're not worried about like copying exact vocal parts again, and two, especially if, I end up writing a solo part to go along with this, having some variation in these parts makes it much easier to work in variations in the solo part as well. So, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's kind of an awkward one. It's because there's no... Cool. Okay. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting now. So, because usually, like, this is the point where I might work in some other, maybe like synth type element. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it totally works here yet. Um, um, yeah, so the flow works really nicely coming out of there. And then I think probably moving into like a more chord progression. It wouldn't necessarily be melodic, but like it would be effectively creating. So if we think about it in a formal sense, right? Like this is our this is our intro, those first like 4 bars, and then we have we call that like an A section or something, or like prime or section 1, whatever it's going to be. If it had vocals, maybe that's the verse. I don't know. But then we've got this intervening section, which from a classical standpoint, we could call it a B section. Could be, a verse also, and that other thing could have been the chorus in like a more commercial song, whatever. It doesn't quite matter, because then we have this part come back that's a callback to the beginning, but it's not an exact repeat, which is actually something pretty frequently done in classical stuff. So we would call it like A prime. And now we could, our choice could be either to repeat this section again and kind of vary it up, and then we'd have like a B prime, and then we would go back to A, and we'd have that. But I like to expand that symmetry even a little bit further and have a C in the middle. So it goes A, B, A, C, A, B, A. Kind of this cool mirrored form. That's called a rondo in classical practice. So now that we've got that, we're going to go to our C section, which I think, no pun intended, that's going to be a little bit more, I hesitate to say melodic, but I'm going to, again, go back to our number sequence here, and I'm going to use this numeric sequence as the jumping off point for the chordal structure here. Okay, so before I actually record anything, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to work in a couple elements here that I really like to use. First, we're going to translate these numbers to what they would be in the chromatic pitches of Western music, and that system starts on 0. C, the note C is 0, and then it just goes up by single digits in chromatics. So if you're not familiar with that, that's how that works. So now let's do that. 3 would be E flat, 7 would be G, 5 would be F, 1 would be D flat. Let's stick with flats, so G flat, F, and then 2, would be D or E double flat. But you know, so okay, so that's what it would translate to in notes, if you can see it down here. E flat, G, F, D flat, G flat, F, D. Okay, so just to, and now I'm gonna open an instrument here, get this keyboard going, and I do want to add some keyboards into this texture. I think it could be cool. We have to be careful about how we approach doing it. I think I'm gonna run this just through Kontakt as well, because we've already got Kontakt for the drums and everything else. So we'll keep it in the family. Keys, and then I like using the stock stuff in Kontakt, and actually a lot of the free stuff is really cool, but the scene ones are really cool too. I don't know, I always do this. I think though for this, I think like a synth would probably be the most helpful. Let's do Conflux. That's kind of my go-to. Obviously, we're not gonna use that, but you know, so if we play the note sequence again here, sorry, bring that back over. Yeah. So shoot, I messed that up. So E flat. It's actually kind of a neat little, it can be a nice shift away from that like kind of sort of minor sounding quality that we were working with there for a bit. Let's find a preset here, a sound that we want. I think this is gonna have to be, well, let's look at the keys first. Piano keys. I think if I remember correctly. I think it's this one that I like usually, because in the lows it sounds cool. Yeah, nice. Okay. So what I think would be really cool is now, you know, so I've got this synth set up. I'm just gonna remind myself that it's for Conflux, and we're going to now write a chord progression. So one thing I really love about Logic in general is being able to plug those in up here. So before we do that though, I'm actually going to transpose this. So I'm going to make it so that this sequence starts on C sharp instead, so that we stay in this general key area that we're in, and then I'm going to use that to as a way to move to this key signature slash sequence, whatever you want to call it, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So the way we do that, you can just do normal transposition, but if you know the mod 12 like pitch sequence, then it's also pretty easy. So C sharp would just be 6, same as D flat. So we would take the number sequence and add 3 to it, because our first integer is 3, and so, you know, to get it to 6 we do that, and then we add 3 to every single number in the sequence, and then it will start on C sharp slash D flat when we're done. So it's going to be 6, T for 10, 8, 8, 5 would become the new sequence, which then becomes C sharp. 10 would be B flat, or in this case A sharp, sticking with the sharps. Then G sharp. 4 would be E. 9 is A. Blah, blah, G sharp again, and then F. And what's really cool, you know, each time we have this like kind of unexpected note that comes in at the end. Or wait, no, sorry, that's not correct at all. What am I talking about? I have completely misled you all. C sharp is not 6. It's 2. Or 1, excuse me. Gosh, I need to take a nap. So actually what we need to do is subtract 2 from everything. So let's redo this real quick. This would be going backwards down to be 11. It's basically like thinking about a clock. 5. And then... 4, 3, 0. Yeah, that is accurate. My apologies, everybody. I have forgotten all of my music theory. Okay, E flat. 11 is B. E, D sharp, C. Cool. So then we can kind of use that to get back to our other starting key if we want to, or I mean the key of that sequence would have been, but I don't think we really need to do that. I think just using that pattern is already enough to get us going, you know. All right, so we'll start with C sharp, power chord, just to make it easy. Do it for a couple bars. And then let's do an F power chord as well. 5. And then now here's where I think we'll start using some actual tonality instead of the power chords. I'm gonna make this a E flat major, major, and then we're gonna move through these pretty quick. So, you know, it would be B, but if we're you know what? Let's keep thinking of this as D sharp because that's going to change how we write the chords, honestly. Let's go with D sharp major, and then we go down to B, which in this case I think is also going to sound cool as a major. You know what? No, not major 7th, just a major chord. We don't want 7th chords right now. It kind of takes it out of the realm of hardcore and into jazz, and it's not really what we're going for right now. Okay, E. I think E minor is going to make the most sense there. And I'm just doing mostly 2 bars per chord. But now I'm going to do these last 2 for just a bar each. So we have like this 12 bar phrase, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a nice relation to the 9 bar phrase earlier. Wait a minute. I think it would be technically major in the key, but yeah. No, let's do it. Let's stick with the rules. And then just for now, right? Then C, I'm going to say not C sharp or minor. This is going to be a C diminished 7th, which will lead us really nicely back. So then on Logic, if you use it, all right, and then we go select group. We'll repeat that a couple times, and then we know how long it'll be once we get there. That's enough. That's just about a minute for that section if we keep it at this tempo. Which I will do. I think we'll just keep it that. And then if you haven't used session players before, they can be really useful for writing purposes. Now, this is not something I would generally include on a final product, but it's a really useful feature in Logic for writing so that I can come up with some harmonic texture parts here quickly so that then I can go back and revise them to work a little differently later in the mixing process or when I'm just revising, coming back to revise the piece. So I'm going to obviously change this from a drummer because this is not a drummer. It's important to hit change patch because then it'll screw up. I want it to play the synth that I have here, not the default patch for whatever it's going to pick. But I'm going to say simple pad here for now, and we'll bring the intensity up a bit so that the velocities are a bit louder. And I'm gonna kind of have this in, cymbal territory lives up here if I'm pretending that this is kind of like an EQ. So I'm gonna kind of go here because this will be in between really where a lot of the guitars and cymbals and then bass and drums live, and then we'll be able to poke stuff out through this in the mix process fairly easily with some EQ. So I'm just gonna do root and octave on the left hand voicing, and yeah, the full chord is good. Tied notes. Cool, and this should be pretty straightforward, but let's hear what that chord progression sounds like as performed on this synth. Okay, it is really cool, but it doesn't really work as a pad, so now instead I'm going to go to an arpeggiated version, and now we're going to get this same range. Still want root and octave, but actually, you know what? That's kind of interesting. Let's keep it like that. We're gonna have it follow the chord rhythm, but I'm going to take one of these, and then no fills or anything. Let's give it a broader range. And I like doing wide voicing on an arpeggiator. Okay. Yeah. I really like that sound. That's a dope sound. And again, I may not use this exact part because what I'll normally do now at this point is I will convert that into a MIDI region. So now I can come in here and I can, really customize. Oops. I can really, customize what's being played. But that's not for now. That's why I do it this way usually. So now that the chords are there, I will be able to fill in the power chords underneath, and it's going to feel like this really big, like lush, rock chorus, you know, so. But again, to connect it to some of the material we've already written, I'm going to take a rhythmic pattern. Actually, I'm going to take the rhythmic pattern from this like breakdown section, more or less. And that's going to be the new pattern here. Okay. But much slower tempo, obviously, so that's going to be more effective. All right. And then, you know, it's an 8-bar phrase. So we're going to need to add 12 or add 4 onto here. And what I'm going to say is we've got, let's see. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different statements, but that's, I'm counting more as a fill. So I think I'm going to shove all of these statements right next to each other in these last 4 bars. So it'll be like this, like, scrunching effect that happens. Okay, that'll probably be pretty cool. And then these rhythms, well, you'll see. It's going to help us determine the rhythmic content of like what's basically now going to become a chorus of sorts. So let's see. We're coming from. Okay. Come on. There we go. Sometimes. I think this will actually sound really cool now at this like slow halftime. So we're gonna do. So. Woohoo! Oh, oops. Not as many repeats when you're just doing, yeah. that. Okay. And honestly, I'm starting to almost feel like this could function also like as an outro. um, if this were a certain context, but we already kind of talked about doing that other form, so. No. Alternate symbols. Symbols getting a lot of play. I do like it. I don't know which symbol that is. And let's vary it up a little bit here. And I want to throw some accents in here on the toms. This is one of my favorite things to do, actually. Cool. All right. Yeah, I want to do toms, not symbols. Haha. Love when your tom is in tune with the key. Cool. Just a little bit of interesting fill type stuff going on. Now, I even sometimes will use the session bass player, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now. What I'm going to do instead is just borrow the bass line in the keyboard here. First we have to find it. I think that's most of it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of octaves, so we're going to have to trim down some octaves here. All right, so I grabbed that bass line from the piano thing, the piano line over there. I'm going to give this some motion. And as much as I love playing down there, we're not going to do that today. So what I'm trying to do here is create an interesting contour which isn't awkward. Because when I go to play this on the bass, I know how it's probably going to lay out on the neck at the end of this. So I just need all this to be much louder. Now, what we're going to do, though, is take the kick drum rhythm. All right. Nope. We're going to go in the bass part. Put that right here. All right. And now the quick way to do this could be to simply just drag it up to the note. And then we kind of do the same thing for everything else here. Wait, yeah. So this will sync really nicely now with the drums. This one instance, I'm actually going to keep the... Yeah, that's going to sound cool. Okay, and then I think at that point, it would probably start over again. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and it looks like we've got the... Oh, yeah, I guess I unintentionally kind of went for the same contour each time. Imagine that. Okay, cool. is going to work nicely. As far as guitar for this, I think we'll stick with a distortion, like, dominated sound, but, sorry about that. I'm going to stick with mostly distortion. So, okay, we've got a C sharp. So the question is, do we play just the power chords? Let's see how that sounds. I'm just going to see how the power chords sound. Ooh. Yeah, that's interesting. It sounds pretty cool with just the chords ringing in there, honestly. Let's try that again. Like that. Yeah, it does sound kind of cool to just have that in there, especially because we have these, synth things coming in. I'm actually gonna dial that back volume-wise. All right, cool. So, oh, yeah, baby. That's gonna work nicely. Cool. All right, let's. Go with the rhythm here. You know what I should do though is not, once again, overload the interface. Okay. I don't know if I really like it playing along with the rhythm. I think I'm just going to do open power chords because there's other rhythmic content going on in those synths, and I think it sounds cool to be able to hear the bass synced up with the kick drum. Yeah, I think that's just going to sound better. That's cool, and I can kind of transcribe that with some style, put some style points on it, but I think that fits this a bit better because it's such a unexpectedly distinct section. So just checking that out in context. And this is actually going to be a great opportunity in this section later on to go back and add some lead parts in and stuff. So that'll be pretty cool. And of course, with double guitars, it's also going to sound a lot better. Ooh, spoopy. Yeah, that's super cool as a C in the form, and then we're gonna need A again. All right. I think we're not even gonna do a full repeat of A. We're gonna grab the held note thing again, and then we're gonna grab and I'm gonna do something a little unhinged and take these single bars right here and see what it sounds like. I don't know if this is gonna work at all, but it might be a weird way to then, like, it's an even shorter version. Let's see. Actually, that could almost be its own riff. Like, if I copy and pasted those twice, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, that's and then we'll just cut. Yes, cut that. And I'm going to change up the drum part a little bit so that it's not so silly. But this will be a nice allusion to A, and it'll be like A double prime, an even shorter version, to propel us into that like last faster section. And then I'll probably break the rules at the end and not do like an actual final A section. And I mean, actually, realistically, that could even be the end of the song. It doesn't have to have a fast section again. Like that would be a perfectly acceptable ending for this. But I want to hear some of this again. Okay, so I think we're gonna take this bit and I'm gonna change up the drum part a little bit. Bring this back to oops. I meant 188. All right. Okay, wait. Hey. Gotta love it, right? What are you doing, Logic? 188, yeah. Now we'll put that there. That's good. There we go. Cool. Okay. So, but I just want the drums to be. I want to do the that like classic punk polka beat. So basically, move those to the backbeat. Those to the front. Back to the front. For my Metallica fans out there. Okay. So if anyone doesn't really understand what I'm doing here, I shifted the snares to the offbeat, and I'm shifting all these like single kick hits to the front, the downbeats, so that we have that to get. Right. Right, like. I'm just gonna do something silly here. Just fill it with a big fat bunch of 16th notes. Okay, and now so taking all the way to here, we're like just over 4 minutes or so by the end of our fast riff, and then I'm gonna, I think, kind of compose a sort of new thing for this end section. And actually, I almost want to try this, like, Okay, so I think what we're going to want to probably do is have some kind of illusion to this. Yeah, sorry guys that screen is freezing. I'm not sure why OBS keeps timing out on like streaming particular windows, so I keep having to restart it this whole time. So thanks for letting me know if it freezes. I'm trying to look at the chat as well. Okay, so we don't want to hear this exact same thing again. I just want to hear like yeah, see, and this is a point where it's like I can't arrange anything to this end. I need to let's see. I like that dun, 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 for like a punctuating thing. Like basically that. Okay. Yeah. Like this. Yeah. And then whoops. Dude, I swear sometimes. Okay, there we go. So and then probably just like a nice loud hit there on the end. Like I don't want the song to go much longer than this, honestly. So I don't think we need to do the true, form as it stands. Where the hell is there? We go. All right, so we're gonna go. And then we're gonna hit it right there. Honestly, I think that's a good place to end the song, truly, because I don't think anyone wants to hear that slow chugging riff again, and it'll be an exciting way to end this. So, we're going to do that. Paste it there. And I'm going to use this, we're going to use the sequence again too. So it's going to be C sharp, F, D sharp, and then we did what? B, E, D sharp. Wait, no, so C, F, and then B, E, D sharp, C. I got an idea. The guitar is gonna really make this sound cool. So just make sure. And honestly, so like for the record, what I'm doing right now is like I would complexify a lot of these guitar riffs once I actually get around to streaming it. Recording it. So, all right, cool. Now. Okay, I think, let's see. So it would be. Bass plays a C at the end, so we'll just do a nice crunch. Man. All right. Well. All right. So we now have our raw demo. A little over 4 minutes long. So I say we give this a jam and admire our handiwork. Obviously, there's not really been a whole lot of mixing done here. I'm just going to pull this down so it's not obnoxious. Pull that down a little bit. Cool. All right, so I don't have a name for this track yet, but we are going to enjoy this one. sorry about the funkiness with the screens again. I gotta iron out a couple of kinks with this, clearly, but I will say I am super, super thankful for all y'all for joining me today. We ended up there with a full finished track, at least a demo, with all of the core elements kind of sketched out. So that took under 3 hours to do all that, and that's with me dealing with some technical stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed this and maybe picked up a few things, some ideas that might help you in your own processes. And if you have any questions or are interested in any more of what I'm doing here, you can always reach out, just drop a comment, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram at Compose and Conquer. We also have a Facebook page, same name, and I'll get back to you right away. Check out www.compose-conquer.com if you're interested in learning more about some of these methods you saw me use today. So, hope y'all can join me next time. Probably going to be polishing off the rest of this track and then writing some solo elements to go with it. So if that's interesting, keep your eyes and ears peeled for our next live build, and I will see you there. Thanks again for joining me, y'all, and have a good rest of your Sunday.